Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel and to our normal Doctor Who reviews. Wow. This is the most common video on this channel is our Doctor Who reviewing videos, where
It's
we've
true.
been going through New Who from 2005 onwards. We're now in 2012, I guess.
We are.
Series 7, 2012. Wow.
Wow.
That's so many episodes we've seen.
Yeah.
Um,
And still so long ago.
still so many,
11 years ago.
and there's so many more episodes to come. But it's
Oh,
fine. It's fine. We're still going, um, and we're starting Series 7, episode 1 with Asylum of the Daleks. So
nice.
a quick recap. This is still Matt Smith's. This is his last full season. Um, this is Amy and Rory. They're still the companions. This is their last full half a season. Uh, they will leave us in what, 5 episodes
5
time?
episodes, yep.
Yeah. But oh no, they're not together at the start of this episode. Ah, no. Yep. Our trio is still, they're separate ways despite reuniting at the end of the last episode. They're separate. They're separate again at the
Yeah.
start of this one.
They're living their own lives now.
Yes, and they get brought together by the Daleks to go down and basically help destroy this insane planet of Daleks. Um, but there's some confusion. It seems a cruise ship has effectively crashed into the planet. How you can do that, I don't know. Why you're getting that close to that planet anyway? That seems silly. But
Max
they've
Capricorn
crashed.
probably was in charge of the cruise ship.
Yes, yeah, maybe it was another ploy and it just didn't work. Um, they've crashed. There's some classical music coming through. Who is it? Oh, there's a survivor. They've got to go down, find the
Oh
survivor.
no, she's hot.
Yeah, literally. Of course, everyone in Doctor Who is hot, so
True, true.
they have to go down, find the person that's trapped, save them, lower the force field, get back off the planet, let the Daleks blow up the planet, then escape from the Daleks. All within the space of, is it 45 minutes this week?
50.
50. It did feel a bit longer,
Yeah.
but it didn't feel long, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's it. That's basically the plot. A nice, a pretty good first episode. It gets the pace going, it brings everything together, it sets up some threads. What did you think about it?
I loved it.
Yeah, that's
There's
fair.
there's always been just something about it that I've always just been like, yes. It's one I think it's one of the ones I've rewatched the most out of any Doctor Who episode. Just for some reason, it's just so hard to pinpoint what it could be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think by this point, it's Matt Smith's third series. It's
Mhm.
Karen Gillan and Arthur Darvill's third series. They're kind of on a roll at this point. Height of their powers, and seeing those three together is always a good time. And then having like a big Dalek story to kick off a series. Especially when it was at this point quite a long wait until the new series started. So I think everyone was hyped anyway for that. And to then start off with like this massive surprise of Jenna Louise Coleman popping up was like, oh shit. And there was some kind of build up of like, we're going to see all these different types of Daleks in the episode and all of that kind of stuff. There's a lot of hype for it. And yeah, I love it. I don't know if I can truly explain why, but I will give it a good go in 3 positives and 3 negatives or more. But yeah, I really, really love this one. And yeah, I think it's they kind of go for like a blockbuster feel. I think they said for Series 7 Part 1, every episode has like its own movie poster that came out before it dropped. They changed the logo and the title sequence per episode. We'll get onto that. And yeah, I think it is a bit. Oh, hello, my lights are flickering. As soon as I
How
went to
dare you
say,
talk shit about the title
as soon as I went
sequence?
as soon as I went to critique, I get electrocuted. I do think some of it plot wise is a bit messy, and there is obviously a pretty big subplot that I'm like, what is this here? But it's my mess, and I love it anyway. It's my favorite child. So I really, really love it. Am I biased? Probably, but that's kind of what we do here. So I really, really enjoy this as like a kickstart to the series. I think it's all guns blazing, a very Doctor Who-y episode of Doctor Who. Daleks and all.
Yep. I think that's fair. Yep, as Liam mentioned, we do 3 positives and 3 negatives there or thereabouts. I think I went first last week. So it's your turn to go first this week. What's your first positive?
You're gonna be really shocked.
Right.
My first positive is Jenna Louise Coleman / Osmond Oswald /
Same.
reveal. Hooray!
Mhm.
I literally have. There's an action figure of her somewhere back there of Osmond, but can't be seen. Doesn't matter. She's dead. But yeah, I remember being completely, jaw on the floor when she showed up when this first aired, because obviously it was a well-kept secret. Well done, BBC. You actually kept a secret.
You didn't spoil it in your trailers.
You didn't spoil it in the trailer and say, "Oh, look away now if you don't want to see it," thinking that's gonna bloody work, idiots. But yeah, it was nice when they actually took a pride in keeping some secrets. But yeah, I was very, very shocked by that, because obviously 6 months before this episode aired, they announced that Jenna Coleman was going to be the new companion, and that her first episode was going to be Christmas Day. Little did we know when they announced that she'd filmed this already. So that's fun. And yeah, I did enjoy seeing her pop up. And then they killed her. So all of that was insane.
Wait a minute.
And yeah, just that reveal that she was actually a Dalek all along. Again, doesn't make a great deal of sense, but I think the plot twist is so good, and it's such a like, oh shit moment. I struggle to care. And yeah,
I think it makes sense. I think for me, it borders too much on being a Cyberman like thing, but at the same time, it makes sense, because like, oh, you were like a genius, and they wanted you in there, like they wanted to use you.
Series 1 has precedence that Daleks will convert humans if they want to.
Well, exactly.
There were half human Daleks in Series 1, so it's not like it's a completely new thing for them to do. So there's a sense to it, and I think in terms of like how she can take the Force field down herself and how she can wipe the Doctor from the Dalek, that makes sense when she is a Dalek and stuff. It's more so the fact that you can hear Jenna Coleman's lovely voice throughout that. But again, the reveal is so good. I think it's so well shot and executed. Nicholas Briggs doing the voice for that bit, he's so good. It's nice that he got something very, very different to do with like a Dalek voice, and hearing a Dalek cry was a bit sad in a way. I did enjoy just that whole reveal. I think it's so cool and well done, especially given the knowledge of like this was the new companion, right? What are they doing? And obviously they're setting up something for that with the arc for
and with it being with hindsight being a factor in us rewatching these, you can see now how that character's there, and you can see it ties in with her saving the Doctor, because if she's not there, the Doctor probably doesn't get off that planet and gets killed then.
Yeah, and I love, again, seeing the Doctor so scared of the Daleks is always such a good thing. Like that scene in Dalek with Chris Eccleston and stuff like that, seeing how afraid he is. So it was cool to see 11 get like that as well. Everything with that, the setup with like the eggs joke early on in the episode, and that actually gets like a really sad payoff here, and like her mind is coming up with like, if I'm saying exterminate all the time, eggs stir, I'm trying to make sense of the fact that I'm not a Dalek here. So all of that I think is really, really cool. Love that. I love Jenna's performance. I just think she's so kind of bubbly and likable. She bounces off the characters really well, even though she never filmed with any of them, and they never filmed with her. So I think that's kind of testament to all their acting abilities. So she's just a really kind of fun guest character, also not technically a guest character in a way. It's very bizarre, but in the best way. So I love her introduction. I love the shock of like what happens to her and the fact that she dies. And at the time, kind of, you think it's like, oh, it's a wink, wink, nod, nod, because we know this is the new companion, but it's also like the story arc with the whole "Run, you clever boy" and remember thing. All of that. It gives Nick Briggs some great Dalek stuff to do with his voice, because he's a very talented voice actor as well. And yeah, she's a great presence in the episode, and I love that they managed to keep it a secret. But even knowing that she's in it and knowing where it all goes, I really do enjoy her presence in this story.
Yep, I think that's fair. I think she's as like a guest character, guest cast, it's a very good. If this was just a one-off, you're like, yeah, that was a great role for them to have. I think for me, where it goes in Series 7, I think with this one and the Snowmen, I'm always going to be like, oh, I wish they kept her not as modern day. I wish they'd used one of these variants.
I do agree with that, yeah.
But that's a problem for Bowser St. John more than this episode. I think this one's great. It shows her. It layers in already her second half of Series 7 arc and where that plot goes, especially with her being a junior entertainment manager. I'm like, that's basically just a nanny, which is basically a school teacher, which is basically what you're going to do. So I like how it all layers in, how much Jenna Coleman knew about what was planned when she filmed this. I don't know whether she was
She
aware of
she
her
didn't
arc.
know where it was going. Stephen Moffat knew where it was going, but they didn't tell
Yeah.
her yet.
Well, that's good then.
So she was
But
just as
yeah,
confused as we were.
yeah, fair enough. But why am I'm supposed to be here on Christmas? Why am I in a Dalek ship all of a sudden? What's going
Am
on?
I not the new companion? No.
Yeah, you lied to me.
Yes, you'll be
but-
Cassie Lang in Quantum Mania.
Oh
Wink.
God, terrible. But yeah, I think it's great. I think she's a great character in this. I like Oswin Oswald. I think it's the introduction of it, how you can be like, how it all fades in, and it sort of has the sinister element of, oh yeah, they're trying to get in, and it's like, oh yeah, of course that makes sense. There, it's a Dalek asylum. When it's like, oh, actually, it's just probably the Dalek voice inside her head going, come on now, you can
And the
come
fact
out, and
that
we're fine.
her computer screen is like a circle, like the Dalek eye stalk, and there's two like gaps in the walls for like where the plunger and gunstick would go. It's so good.
It's all very well done. And yeah, I think you can't really add more to what you'd said, but yeah, she's great in this episode. And it was a nice surprise, a nice twist, and the twist is a nice twist. I'm happy with her being fully converted, because they could argue that they wanted her to be some Dalek genius, which is fine. So I really have no issues with it whatsoever. High praise. So what is your second positive?
My second is the Daleks.
Same.
No, I refuse. When you said like we need to make this episode a bit quicker just in case people turn up, then well, we're helping out with that.
We're certainly going for it.
But yeah, seeing all like the different variations of them, and it's kind of like a love letter to the Daleks throughout the years. Like
justice for the special weapons Dalek.
You
Didn't get anything to do again.
Oh dear. But that's because it's a very clunky prop. It can't do anything. But yeah, I do really enjoy seeing the special weapons Dalek again for the first time. Like, nice bit of fan service there. Especially it's the start of the series. It's leading into like the 50th anniversary celebrations the following year. It's all very well and good. How they look and how they're shot in this one. Nick Curran, one of my favorite directors, again did this one. He's so great. And a lot of people went into the Dalek head like, oh, finally, the Daleks are shot well and interesting again. I'm like, are you forgetting about Asylum of the Daleks? Because I think they do them really good justice here. I think the big return of like the Bronze Daleks, but they've kept some of the Power Ranger Daleks.
They've toned them down as well.
They've given them a metallic paint job, and obviously gotten rid of the orange and yellow ones. And I think they look great for it. I really do enjoy that, and having adding to the lore with like the Dalek Parliament, the Dalek Prime Minister, because as we all know, the Prime Minister is basically a Dalek. So yeah, that was all very well and good, and how they're presented with like Amy's hallucinations of them, it's like the little ballerina and people dancing, whatever like that. I think it's a really kind of unique interpretation of the Daleks to make them a bit scary again, if you feel like they weren't scary or whatever. But it's just a really cool way of kind of producing, some new Dalek content and new spins on them. And the fact that
new spins on them, because some of them are spinning.
That's funny. And they are portrayed as like humans in Amy's eyes, but then they turn out to actually be Daleks. So that's the whole kind of Oswin thing again. Like, see what they're doing there. So that was all very well and good. And the intensive care Daleks, the kind of nods to previous stories. These are Daleks that survived previous Dalek stories, which was fun. I like that. If you're a classic series fan, you're like, oh, I recognize these Daleks. Like, that's fun. So that was all very well and good again. Like just leading into like the love letter for Dalek fans, I guess. So it was great to kind of see them and like kick off a series with them, which certainly hasn't been done in a long time. And I think they look great. I think they're shot great. It's fun seeing Daleks over the years gone by all put in together. I like the concept of like insane Daleks that survived the Doctor locked up in an asylum. I think that's a really neat idea. I just think it's neat. And the whole planet, there's so many crazy Daleks out there. There's a whole planet like filled with them. Just very cool, and I love how they're kind of brought to life in this episode. I do think they do have some really like creepy moments, particularly the intensive care Daleks and how they're shot and like the green lighting and stuff. I think that really makes that bronze design shine with like the green lighting on them. All very well and good, super cool. We've got some fun facts about how much effort they put into making all these Daleks. So it definitely was like a labor of love, and I think it really does pay off.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think my favorite scene is obviously the eggs scene with Rory, because it's funny, but it's also creepy as fuck. Like when he's like, "Oh, is this it?" And then the realization and the way it's all cut, and like how he sort of he moves the eye stalk, doesn't it? And it just sort of comes back. You're like,
Mm.
that thing's not dead, is it?
Yeah.
And then when it's so cliche, it's like horror where he's like backing up and he's gonna make some noise and whatever. But the way the whole thing's shot, I really like. And yeah, it has that little bit of lightheartedness in it, which the same thing happens again when like Amy and the Doctor get sort of trapped by the one and it can't shoot them, and you know, you're like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? And then he just sends it off and it blows up. I like
Arthur Darvill's delivery of "I don't know what you want" is so good.
yeah. And it's like, oh, now I know what you want.
I'm going to die.
Yeah, and I like them all. I like how they all sort of when the Doctor's wandering the Dalek Parliament, how they're all like watching him and all the eye stalks move and they all follow him around. I think it's all great. I also like the idea of the Dalek puppets, the little things that come out in their hands. I think they're great. And I'm glad that they come back. At the very least, they come back in the name of the Doctor. Oh God, that one. Doctor. That Time of the Doctor. One of them. They come back in that one.
Fake them.
I don't think they've come back since.
I don't think so. No, I think it's just this and that.
Oh no. They're in Pete Capaldi's two-parter, I think. Because Matey Boy with the Viking man has.
Oh, you're right. Yes, you are right. Yeah.
So they do come back then. But I like the idea. It makes sense. I know they have to kind of use it sparingly, so people don't always go, "Oh, well, why don't they just invade using that?" Yeah. But whatever.
Just like the sound effect of it, like forcing it back.
Yeah, and how you kind of can't see it for the first one, but then other ones you can see it like coming forward just under the skin. It's like, oh, that's gross. Yeah, I like that. I like all the Daleks. Always a big fan of Dalek stories that have loads of different variety of Daleks. Whether that's this one, whether that's parting of ways, not partners in crime, parting of ways, or even Journey's End. You know, I'm always a big fan of when they throw in new Daleks that are just more than the drones. And this one does a good job of just showing all of them, and I really like it. And
this really sets the stage for Magician's Apprentice and Witches Familiar. Like
yes, yeah, definitely. Even as we go to Skaro as well with the big Dalek like statue, which I quite like.
So extra, yeah, I love it.
It is. It's so unnecessary for your home planet to have a picture. It's like having a picture of yourself everywhere. It's ridiculous. They all look the same. You don't need a big statue. It would make sense if it was Davros, but it's just a Dalek. It's like what?
They hate Davros most of the time. They wouldn't build a Davros.
That's true. Statue. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. So what is your third positive? Are we going to make it 3 for 3?
I doubt it, because this is a very weird one.
Okay.
Well, I just put vibes. I just like the vibe. I just think it's a fun vibe. And this is kind of what I was saying, that I can't really explain why I like it so much. But I just think, maybe it's probably the core memories of like 1st of September 2012, Doctor Who's finally back after all this time. It's my birthday in a few weeks. I'm excited. Yeah. And now we have all of this and the twists and turns and we get Daleks and stuff like that. Watched it with my dad, who's a big fan of Daleks, so he was very excited when they turned up because he doesn't follow the news, so he didn't know it was a Dalek story. Both of us being like, that's a new companion, what's going on here? All of that was great. We had a family friend who guessed the eggs stir thing. I was like, you're right, buddy.
You ruined it for me. Shut up.
You ruined the twist. Get out. Get him out of here. No, thankfully, the next time he watched Doctor Who with us, he distracted everyone during Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS. So I was like, thank you. Like, we don't need to see this. So yeah. But yeah, I really enjoy the vibe. I don't know what it is about it, and I know it's almost a waste of a positive in a way, but I like how this episode feels, and I like how it makes me feel when I watch it. I think that's what I'm trying to say. So I just said vibes.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Same with me in Boomtown.
Exactly that.
Can't really explain it, but I love it. It's great. Yeah. So my third one, which I'm sure is an additional one for you, is Matt Smith.
Yeah.
I think he's great in this one. As always, he still has the
shout out to when he gets shot at the start. Oh, that really made me laugh.
Yeah, so there is
how has that not been memed?
We can get there. We can do it. Yeah, he's great. He can show the funny side of the Doctor here, and he shows obviously the sort of sad, angry side with his reaction to the Daleks, and especially when he's cornered with them all. And I really like. There's a number of moments in this which is great. And I haven't written them down. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he's on my positive list, so they're great. But no, he is he can do both things, and obviously he's been in the role for
Get you a man who can do both.
his third year. Yeah, it's like his third year, so he knows how to do this. Off by heart now. And it's just another example of how he does it, especially because a lot of his scenes are sort of, he's only got one character to play off of, and then Daleks. So when there's not exactly much to bounce off of. Or, admittedly, one of them is someone that you've been working with for 2 years, so it's easy. But at the same time, you could become complacent, and it could become not as good.
You could.
But when he's addressing, well, yeah, exactly. We certainly have seen that happen. But when he's addressing the Parliament, the Dalek Parliament, both before they go to the planet and afterwards, when he's like, you can't just fire me into a planet and expect me to solve problems, and Rob's like, well, that's normally what you do. So don't give the Daleks credit when they're firing me into. I love the humor that's there throughout this, and then the sadness at the end when, one, he realizes that Oswin's a Dalek, and two, he realizes that he's the reason why the Daleks just keep coming back and it's stronger and stronger is because they're trying to find a way to stop him, and if he just sort of stopped stopping them, they'd probably stop. Or at least would stop improving. But obviously he can't do that. But now he has a fresh chance to do it because they're not going to, all that kind of thing. I just think he's great, as he is in every episode he's in, obviously, because he is the lead actor. So he has to be good. And he is in this one, and I'm pretty sure he will be for the rest of Series 7. I doubt there'll be a moment where he's not. But, we're here to be proven wrong. So you never know. So have you got any other positives?
I just put Matt Smith, to be honest, and obviously Nick Cohen as a director, because I love that man. So
fair enough. I put, as just an aside, was the music. There are some good moments where it's used. One with the sort of the music when Amy's like going to be with the Daleks. It's a slowed down version of her and Rory's song from when they die. I was like, hop, that's sad. I guess it's Clara's theme, but it's not going to be called Clara's theme in this one. It's probably Oswald's.
No, there is it's Oswald's theme, but there is a bit of Clara's theme in it.
Yes, yeah.
I've got a fun fact about it. It's fun.
Yeah, I like that piece of music. I do. I enjoy that one, and also when the Doctor comes up and he's like, "Haha, you don't remember me." That whole music at the end is great as well. Music. We'll talk about. We're getting closer to 50th, where I have an issue with the 50th music, but when there are new stuff in the score, I think it's great, and they do the new stuff is great always, and the music is excellent, as it should be. It's used very well in this one, quite sparingly, so it's not overjarring and you don't focus on it. But it is very good. However, we must talk about things that aren't as good. So we'll move on to the negatives. I only really have the one main negative, I guess.
Me too. Yeah.
What's your first negative?
My first negative is the Amy and Rory divorce subplot.
Yeah,
because it's shit.
There's no need for it. There's no need.
Completely unnecessary. First of all, believe me, I know how long it takes for you to get to a point where you have to sign the divorce papers. It's months. Yeah. They didn't talk for months about that. Come on, ridiculous. So that was silly. The perfect time, if they're going to do this, I appreciate tackling divorce in Doctor Who. I think it's a thing that happens for 50%
and the
of
issues,
managers.
And the issues around having children and stuff,
like that. That's great. However, the time to do this was after A Good Man Goes to War and have them break up in between Series 6 Part 1 and 2, and maybe Series 6 Part 2 is then kind of coming back together. Not in the same episode as you introduce the plot, you wrap it up. That's that. Completely inconsequential. They're leaving in 4 episodes time. It's so bizarre.
It feels like they need to pad it out, and that's what this is.
It's such an unnecessary conflict for them. It it really is to like give them something else to do other than just be Doctor, what do we do now? Where do we go now? Like so it saves them from that companion trope, but also I think I'd rather have that than a plot that just makes no sense. All their little catty insults to each other at the start. I'm like, why should we root for you to get back together if you clearly don't want to get back together? Like Amy was horrible to Rory.
But then she was like, "Oh, Rory," but he'd left. So
I get there are layers to like. She's obviously putting on a front and pretending she's okay, which is really, really not. Because Amy's a very like she doesn't want to show that weakness.
Combative person.
But I think they needed to really lean into that a bit more and actively show that that's what she was doing, rather than just making it something we really have to assume. because don't get me wrong, they perform it so well. That scene where they really talk it out, they're both amazing in that scene.
100%.
And you know, I can understand where they're coming from with, like, you know, the trauma of Demons Run stuff and what they did to Amy. That's horrible. But also, like, you do have a child. Bring that into the conversation at some point. I know you didn't get to raise it, but that should have been a talking point.
And
so,
you know, having biological kids is not the only way you can
exactly
have kids.
Adopt, which they literally end up doing anyway in that extra PS scene. So, you know, this is literally canonically what they do. I'm like, so yeah, it's just very weirdly placed in the story. It just makes no sense, especially when they're about to leave anyway. I don't know. It's a bizarre turn of events. It is what it is. At least it's not across the whole 5 episodes that they do this, I guess. But also,
ironically, that might be better if it was.
Yeah, but also if it's just a 1 episode, what's the point in doing it? So yeah, a very odd, I think, very misplaced storyline. Almost ruins the vibes. Asylum of the Daleks don't do
very
that.
Close,
the vibes here that I want to maintain.
It very much feels like they wanted to. Oh, hello. How dare you?
I need to stop criticizing.
It very much feels like they wanted to explain. Maybe Moffat had read like, oh, but why don't they just have more? You know, maybe it feels like he wanted to explain after Demons Run, but didn't know where to put it, so figured, right, fresh start, let's just have this and we can whatever. But it's so, especially because we've just seen them at Christmas be all happy and family, and there's no hint there that they're gonna be an issue. And like, what did Amy just do? Wake up one morning and just go, you need to leave, and just never say anything again?
Yeah, because what really annoys me is they did that Pond Life thing, which is like 5 mini episodes as like a prequel to this, and I was like, it's going to explain the place that they're at, but it doesn't, because just the last episode they're just arguing, and they're like, we don't even hear the conversation. Like, he's always just leaving, and they're like, I mean, like, what happened? They had the perfect chance to at least try and explain it then. They just don't.
But yeah, it's unnecessary. I don't know whether it's because they wanted to explain it, they didn't know where to put it, or I don't know if maybe they weren't expecting the actors to be back for this episode, so they kind of had to go, oh, let's give them something quick that means they don't necessarily have to film everything at once. I don't know, maybe there's something in that, but it's so unnecessary, especially because there's, you know, we've had 2 seasons of them effectively being together through thick and thin and not having anything break them up, and then for this to be the issue, and it's a perfectly valid issue, you know, if you have sat down and spoken to your partner about this and you've decided we can't have kids, we need to end this or whatever, and you've gone and you've had that proper conversation, it makes sense. So the conversation they have on the Dalek teleport is what they should be having at home before making this life-changing decision. Because, you know, that's just not how people come to these decisions, and it's not realistic. We're talking about a show when they're on a planet of insane aliens, but you know, it's not realistic from a personal relationship point of view, because you would have this conversation, especially because it seems like Rory doesn't know that's the reason why he's being kicked out. It's like, well, you just, you know, and I'm like, you would have this talk, especially because, as we said, you know, there are other ways than having biological kids. You can adopt, you know, you can foster, you do whatever you want. And as you said, they had a child who they still apparently speak to. So it is just, it's so misplaced.
A choice was made.
Yeah, it's not necessary. I think it's really the only negative of this story, and I think it's why a lot of people don't like the story as much as they probably could. I think is because of this subplot. It's because people don't necessarily know. You know, as you mentioned, the characters seem a bit off. Amy, especially in the first half, is very much Amy of series 5, and I'm like, I'm not a fan of this. How you're just sort of like so keen to effectively go and get yourself killed. I'm like, it's not what I wanted, and it's not how I thought their characters would start the new series, because there's been no.
You know, what would really help understand Amy's state of mind?
A target novelization.
Correct.
We might get one eventually. It wouldn't surprise me if this is a perfect one to have a target novelization.
I would love a target novelization of this,
and it wouldn't surprise me. They've picked 2 from series 7. They've picked 2. They've picked 1 from series 7 already. So they picked the wrong one from series 7.
They picked the wrong one to do, yeah. Well, they picked a good one to do, but just the way they did it was the choice.
If you count Day of the Doctor as series 7, then they've done 2.
That's true.
But they've only done the Crimson Horror. But anyway, it would do well, and it might explain it. They could have a little prequel bit in where it's just built up and whatever, but it just feels unnecessary. It drags the episode down slightly.
It does,
but especially because a lot of time is focused on it as well, because it is the only other subplot really in the episode, and it's not necessary. Just throw in more Daleks. Just throw in more run away from Daleks. I'd rather that. Your second negative.
Yeah, again, these are just kind of like at this point, because it's the divorce thing is the only thing I really have the issue with. But I do think the Daleks, more so the Parliament of the Daleks, are made to look a bit stupid at times, and a bit contradictory. You can only turn off the force field from inside the asylum is ridiculously stupid. So well done, Daleks, for that one. And they're like, oh, it's offensive for us to, kill these Daleks. It's such beautiful divine hatred. Oh, what do you want us to do? Kill them all, please. That makes no sense. So again, the vibes hold this episode together. Because their plan is a bit stupid. So that was just my one for me.
Isn't it a case of, I think they don't want to kill them, but killing them is now a last resort because they're concerned that they could escape.
It could be, but I don't know if they outright say it like that.
Well, I think because the doctor says, oh, if something got into the asylum, that means things can get out because the thing crashed into it. I think that's where their concern is that you're right, go and stop that from happening. We're going to destroy the planet.
Yeah,
that's a very extreme. It's very extreme way to go.
And even so, the way they've designed the force field and everything is. So the inmates can turn off the force field, is what you're telling me. There should be some
Daleks that are kept there that are like the prison guards.
Yeah, there should have been like guard Daleks. So they're always unmanned. Well, it should be manned. That's a terrible system.
Maybe there's some Dalek law where they just sort of threw all the Daleks there. They went, oh shit, to stop this getting out, we better put the force around it. They put it around and went, fuck, we forgot. Forgotten to
just put some dead guards in there. Just put some dead Dalek guards in there or something. I don't know.
There's been a riot or something.
They're just the plan can be a bit silly at times as well.
Yeah, that's fair. I understand. My sort of, again, all of these are nitpicky at this point. And this is no slight on the actress, but the first Dalek puppet actress lady, she's not the best. She's quite a wooden.
Doctor Who?
Yeah, I don't know whether it's because she's obviously a non-native English speaker.
I do think some of it just comes down to the accent, which obviously can't be helped. I don't think that should be a slight on her performance, but and I know like the character, there shouldn't be anything behind the eyes or anything like that because she's a Dalek slave. But even when she has her memories back, there's no real difference.
And like you can kind of argue that, but then you meet the guy that crashed in the spaceship and is also a Dalek puppet, and he has a lot more character and stuff. And even like the hairdresser lady and the bus driver. I mean, the bus driver doesn't say anything, but they're still kind of better. And it was a bold move starting the episode off with her narration when it's not the best. I think they heavily relied on the visuals to be like, oh, what's going on here, rather than listen to what she was saying. Again, no slight on her because obviously acting is hard, and I think her accent has sort of impacted a little bit, but I don't think it's the best. It's not the best one, especially again when you're surrounded by other actors that are doing very good acting. It highlights the not so good as another level, but it's not it's not episode ruining. It's not the worst acting we've ever seen in the show. And she doesn't play like a major role. She's just there to kind of be like an interface between the Dalek Parliament and
she's literally a puppet.
And it's fine. But that's just that's just the second negative. Your third one.
Again, really scraping the barrel to come up with negatives. The movie maker title sequence.
Interesting.
I just don't like him. I think
so cheap. It was blurry. That was my main thing. I was like, what?
That's the thing. Need to make they changed blurry. Too much. I like changing the pattern on the logo every time, but just keep it the same and then just do that. I think they threw too much at it. They put too many filters on it. Instagram filters for days, and I think it makes it look quite cheap and tacky. So thank God it's only for 5 episodes. But I needed a negative for this one, so I'm going to stick it in here.
That's fair enough. My next one is just as bad. The hole that they looked down that Rory fell down. That's bad CGI there. because they're obviously not looking at a hole, but when you cut to it, you can see that it's not. It's like they've almost got that green screen line around them, and I'm like, oh no, it's not. And like this is a hole.
I don't think that's really there.
Exactly. There's a lot of it's like practical effects, and a lot of it is done really well. There's very minimal CGI except for when they like arrive on the planet. and the Dalek spaceships. But they've got them Dalek spaceship design down now. They can just keep reusing his asset for
Yeah,
years.
they can copy and paste
There's no
that
need to
whenever they
change
want.
them.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like a hole. And was the hole already there? Did the little thing make the hole? If so, why didn't Amy and the Doctor
Why
go
isn't
down
Rory
the
a little
hole?
splat at the bottom?
Yeah, so maybe mine's just a hole, not necessarily just it being CGI, but where did it come from? It's just an argument so they can get in there. But fine, that's the only other small thing. I guess you need to split them up so they can reunite and whatever.
Yeah.
So it's fine, but it's a very minor thing. There's nothing else. You got any other negatives? Any other additionals?
You'll be surprised to know I don't.
No, fair enough.
If I have to complain about the title sequence, I'm kind of struggling.
That's fair enough. The only other one I had was when Amy's like going whoa, and they do the weird thing where they put the camera on her and it like follows her face. I think that always looks so tacky.
All that kind of stuff's been ruined by the weekend Super Bowl performance now.
It's in the it's not Armstrong and Miller, it's the other one, Mitchell and Webb look, where it's
where it's
the drunk Sherlock Holmes type thing. It's like that's all I think of whenever I see that. So it has been ruined, and please stop using it. I know you want to show that they're disorientated and that. I don't care. Just put a blurred filter around it so we know. I'd rather that than just have the. It's not even a point of view shot, is it? It's just, I don't know what you call it, but a follow.
Yeah.
Plus, it can be comfortable for the actors to wear a thing around them and have it put. That can be good. It must look silly when you're wearing it as well.
That would hurt your back, wouldn't it?
Definitely. Well, that's it for the negatives. Fun facts. So what have you got?
Fun facts. I've got a whole page of them this time, folks.
Wow.
A lot more than the last episode.
It's almost like people like this episode.
Heaven forbid. Okie dokie. The presence of Jenna Louise Coleman in the episode. It's so weird saying Jenna Louise Coleman, but this is how she was credited at this time. Who had been announced as the new companion months prior to her debut in the 2012 Christmas special, was successfully kept a secret until broadcast despite several preview screenings, press, critics, and fans. Hooray, BBC! After the broadcast, Coleman and Moffat issued statements thanking fans and the media for keeping the secret. Coleman filmed all her scenes in a secluded set over 6 days with a limited crew, never interacting with any of the other actors. That's how you do it, BBC. Yep. Well done.
Let's hope they've done it for the 60th.
I guess we'll see. This episode was available to view at 5:01 a.m. on the Australian broadcast service catch-up and on-demand service iView, immediately following the UK broadcast. This is the first time Doctor Who has debuted in Australia in this way. The traditional free-to-view broadcast aired a week later. So I like that they changed it up. Doing something for the Australians who start early in the morning. Well done.
Good for them.
Good for her. This story marks the first appearance of the adjusted Series 7 Part 1 title sequence. The colour of the vortex and the TARDIS itself have been adjusted. The footage has a less sharp focus. Yes, can you guess? The footage has a less sharp focus, as if it were a dreamlike state, and the font and pattern of the logo has changed, as it does for every Part 1 episode.
Yeah,
to fit the brief of each episode, feeling like a blockbuster story.
There's no need for the dreamlike changes. That's the only issue I have with it, is it was just blurry. And I was like, you don't need this.
There's simply no need. Yeah.
No, literally.
A prequel for this episode debuted on iTunes prior to the broadcast. I can't remember what it is. I know, right? Very bizarre choice, but there you are. The episode was screened at the Edinburgh International Film Festival in August, just as was done with Let's Kill Hitler the year prior. So again, kept it under wraps. Well done, people there.
Two very different vibes there.
Very different vibes, yes.
Both Nazis, though. Both Russian Nazis.
Both Nazi stories, so there you go.
Surprisingly linked.
There you go. This is the first televised Dalek story to be primarily set on a planet other than Earth since the Sixth Doctor story Revelation of the Daleks in 1985. It is also the first series opener not to be primarily set on Earth since Smith and Jones.
I was like, wait, Smith and Jones, moon. That counts. The moon counts. Come on now.
Just about, yeah. I did read it and then, I don't know, but okay. I guess it's not Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the first time since the TV movie that the credit "written by" has been used in the credits. So it would just be by Stephen Moffat, but now it's written by. So sure.
Didn't want credit for the crappy directing that might come. They're like, no, I've just written this one. Thank you.
How dare you? Oswin's theme song resembles, but still differs to Clara's theme, fully introduced in The Snowmen. A snippet of Clara's theme is heard, however, when Oswin says "Run, you clever boy" for the first time.
Yeah. Good music.
I love that music. Jenna Coleman burnt her right hand on a light while filming the episode, and she can be seen favouring the injured hand in certain scenes. There's the idea that she'd been there for a while, so maybe she'd been a bit injured and stuff, so she tries to show it off.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
Fair.
Making the most of lawsuit,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
That risk assessment was bad. During her interview on BBC News upon her announcement as a new companion in March 2012, Jenna Coleman was asked what monster she wanted to face in the show. She said, "I think I'd like to come across the Daleks at some point," having already filmed this episode when she gave the interview. I know your game, Jenna.
Yeah.
What do you like?
It's okay, though. You'll face them a lot more moving forward.
Oh, yes. A whole...
Twice at
3
least?
times?
3 episodes?
Yeah. You see one
Unless
part of
you
the
count-
painting in the 50th, so I guess we can count.
Yeah, there's 50th. There's
Time of the Doctor,
Time of
Magician's
the Doctor,
Apprentice.
the 2-parters. Is that it?
I think that's it.
Oh,
Certainly a couple more times, if
yes.
nothing else. This was the first pure Dalek story that Moffat has written for Doctor Who, because it's always been like other things included before. So that's fun, I guess. Karen Gillan admitted she'd never been scared of the Daleks until they filmed this story. I think that's fair.
Fair enough.
I'm still
Yep.
scarred from the Doctor experience, being like, they're not scary, and then, oh my god. Oh god. The snow scenes on the Asylum planet were filmed in Spain during production of the 3rd episode of the series, A Town Called Mercy. So that's fun.
Snow scenes in Spain?
What is this? Oh my
That's
god.
wrong.
Climates in my Doctor Who. The story contains the most different Dalek designs ever in a single episode. The production team located all surviving Dalek models they could and had them shipped to Cardiff for filming, including a return for the Special Weapons Dalek from Remembrance of the Daleks in 1988.
Best boy.
Best boy. Love that design. Russell T Davies even lent them his Dalek prop replica for filming, thrilled at the idea of it being canonised in the show, which is very wholesome. Even so, a large number of props still ended up having to be built from scratch to make up the numbers. So still a lot of effort. I would simply just not bother. I would copy and paste them. How hard can it be?
Exactly.
There's some in like the classic series where they're just cardboard cutouts in the background and they're so obvious.
Oh,
so,
no.
I love it. I love it. Moffat was concerned about how all the different Daleks would look together on screen, but was pleased when he got to see them on set. He said that the diversity made them look like a species rather than identical robots, which I like.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then finally, the episode was nominated for the 2013 Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation, along with The Angels Take Manhattan and The Snowman.
I hope the Angels won. It might not have, but of the 3 episodes, I think that one's the most dramatic presentation. Is certainly that one.
Also directed by Nick Curran.
Yeah, there you go.
What a man.
Lovely. Excellent fun facts. Time to rate the episode out of 10. I will give it an 8.5.
I will accept that. I gave it a 9 for the vibes.
Nice. I was almost on the 9, but then I was like, the Amy and Rory stuff just really knocks me down. It really depresses
that's
me
where
when I
that
get
point
to it.
is knocked off. Yeah, for sure.
But it's fine. It's fine. I'm sure next week will be a 10 out of 10, though. It's dinosaurs on a spaceship.
Oh dear.
With 2 Harry Potter actors in it.
Oh, good. That famously aged like milk franchise.
At least 2 Harry Potters. I don't think it has, right? Yeah.
I assume so.
I'm excited by this one. I remember always having a good time with it.
Yeah, me too.
We'll see how well the CGI dinosaurs hold up. I know that the Triceratops, I think, is real.
They got a real Triceratops for
yes.
this episode, yes.
And isn't this the one with Mitchell and Webb as well? No.
It is.
Yeah, it is, because they play the robots.
A little bit of oil just came out.
Yeah.
I remember
We'll see
finding
how
them
that
really
holds up.
funny when this first aired.
Yeah.
I'm going to find them so fucking annoying.
Oh, definitely. You definitely will. Yeah, I'm interested. This is David Bradley's first role in Doctor Who as well, before he goes on to play William Hartnell and then the First Doctor.
Yeah, booked him busy.
So that's what they saw this and went, you know what? We should get him back. And get him back in the biggest role they could give him. Which is fair. So much so that people are now like, stop ruining it. Leave him alone.
Him again? Why don't they just bring William Hartnell back from the dead?
Why don't they bring the real actor back? He's dead, guys. Guys, he's dead.
And if they didn't include the First Doctor, they say this is so disrespectful to the First Doctor.
Yeah.
So
this is in black and white. Blah, blah, blah. Oh,
as is often
Guess
the
that-
case, Doctor Who can't win with Doctor Who fans.
No,
I
no,
even remember the
definitely can't.
Dinosaurs on a Spaceship discourse on Twitter. Like, why did the Doctor leave Solomon to die? He's a monster. Like, he's left more
Yeah.
people to die before now.
Yeah,
And that
this
man is a
happened
bad
before.
man.
Yeah, exactly. And then obviously we do have the fact that the Doctor basically kills a man in this episode, which I think is great.
He showed
we
that
have
he
a-
couldn't be redeemed, so he's like, oh, fuck you.
Literally, we have a Silurian cameo as well, I think.
We do.
At some point. And yes,
Another
this is
one?
obviously this is obviously the introduction of Rory's dad, Arthur. Arthur?
Brian.
No, Brian.
Arthur
Arthur's
plays
Harry Potter.
Rory, Connor.
Yeah.
And he plays.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, and it's Arthur Weasley.
It's Arthur
oh
Weasley,
my,
isn't it?
Oh my god.
Brian Williams.
Brian
there we go.
Pond.
Who is 100%, he's the best guest cast of, I think, the whole series. I love him. I love his character. I wish he would come back.
What have you got in your pockets, Brian? My balls.
I think he's great. He has like a travel trowel. And
Yeah.
what a man. Him and Graham would get on like a house on fire.
It really
I
would.
want to see it. I want to see that. Make it happen. Even if it's Big Finish, I will just listen to it. They could just be sat at a table discussing their stories, and
I
will
could
listen
so
to that.
imagine that they were bus drivers together.
Oh yeah, definitely. Or he'd been on his bus. They've
Yeah.
interacted before. There's
Oh,
something there. But yeah, I'm
Something there
excited for
that
that.
wasn't there before.
Have you got any concerns for the episode? Anything? How
The
do
robots.
yeah.
Just the robot. I think I'm gonna hate them now.
Yeah,
But,
that's fair.
Hopefully they're not as present in the episode as I think they might be. I don't know if they really are.
They're not in the
Obviously-
next time trailer as much, are they? There's only
No,
like one scene with
obviously,
them in.
like Solomon is the villain. I'm excited to see the Doctor assemble another squad because we have what's his name from
yes.
Sherlock in it, and we have Queen
Yep.
Nefertiti.
Mhm.
And they kind of explain like, because Nefertiti like famously disappeared, and like, they never knew what happened to her, and they kind of explain that away in the Doctor Who way, which is fun. I remember really liking Amy in this episode, so that'd be cool to see because she kind of has her own separate story, and then obviously we get everything with Brian, who
Girl
I'm
power.
so excited to see. Yes.
In
The
my
episode's written by Chris Chibnall. So that's
It
fun.
is. It is. It is. That's
Soon to
good.
be future showrunner, like 6 years after this. And he's a good man, and I love it. So yeah, I'm excited to kind of check this out. I think it's going to be another like fun one. It's a run-of-the-mill kind of standard affair in between divorce and then genocide in a town called Mercy. So I think it's well placed in regards to
Forget
that.
that.
And yeah, I am excited to check it out. 'Cause, a very kind of 11-y feeling story again, having dinosaurs on a spaceship, and you can just picture his interactions with the dinosaurs and stuff. Shit gets real when Simon then kills the Triceratops. But
yes, it will be. It's another episode where you can easily see where Matt Smith has another prime opportunity to show off both sides of the 11th Doctor. I think this one and Town Called Mercy as well will also do that because again, he is fully up for letting that man die in Town Called Mercy as well. So he is on a murderous rampage this season already. Loads of Daleks, space pirate man.
It's almost as if him not having a full-time companion on board is a bad thing. I can't believe they've never hinted at that before. Runaway Bride.
Does he kill anyone? Does he kill anyone in Power 3? What does he do with the weird cube, the cube man? I don't know what he does with that one at the end.
Well, he's just a hologram, that cube man, so he just takes it away.
Well,
I imagine. I think he was supposed to actually be there, but because they acted so terrible, they made him a hologram.
Right. Yeah, fair enough. We'll see what it does that one. And then in Angels Take Manhattan, I guess he just sort of. Well, he doesn't get killer on them, but
he still goes through it.
Certainly would make anyone
to the point where he then spends 200 years on a cloud. So
Yeah. Where he's fully ready to let children die on that cloud. So it's fine. It's fine. But yes, he's definitely on a murderous rampage already. But the Doctor doesn't kill people, guys. He doesn't do that. So
certainly not.
It's all non-canon.
No, certainly. William Hartnell never brutally beat someone to death with a rock in like the Second Ever story. John Pertwee definitely didn't shoot a bunch of Ogrons. No, definitely not.
Terrible. But yes, that will be it, I think. Unless again, as always, some big news breaks in the week, which may or may not happen. If you didn't see, the comic relief stuff was just Lenny Henry regenerating into David Tennant for hosting duties. So nothing major there.
Or should I say body thieves?
Literally. Should I say host thieves? But it's fine. We'll see if anything comes up. I think Doctor Who magazine's out at some point. I'm actually on holiday next weekend, so we might not have an episode next weekend.
Oh
I'm
my
shocked.
gosh.
But we will see. We may be back next weekend if we find time to record before I go off. If not, we'll be back in a couple of weeks. Cool. That's it. Goodbye.
Bye.